Alright friends, while Bannerlord is back and better than ever, it's also harder to navigate the early stages of a campaign. The map is just crawling with hostiles, enemy archers are even more deadly than before, and many changes also make it more challenging to make money.
Stop that. Who are you?
In this short series, I'll show you how an experienced Bannerlord player navigates the early game, collects a bunch of dinars, and help you dominate. Alright friends, welcome back again to another episode of Tactical Enlightenment. Our YouTube channel is dedicated to all things Bannerlord related, and welcome to a new episode, a new series, a very short series here, helping fellas with the early game in version 1.3. We are playing the beta in 1.3, and one of the universal, complaints, or at least things that people are noticing, is that it's very hard to make money, especially in the early to mid game. So I'm going to try to navigate that a little bit here with the character I just started playing. We just made this guy about 30 minutes ago. Not sure if I'll post the first 30 minutes. There would have to be a lot of interest in that. Essentially, we have a javelin throwing Mamluk captain here. He's a mercenary for the Aserai. We're making a small amount of money on our mercenary contract. And as you can see, this guy is right out of the nursery, right? He's level 9. He's got double digits for most of his skills. In fact, he doesn't have a single skill over 100. And he's got some companions, but most of them are also wearing rags and not that skilled either. This is a difficult part of Bannerlord because there's an awkward stage between where you can take on actual armies and you don't want to chase looters when you have 60 troops. So I'm going to kind of show you what an experienced player does to navigate this. And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to terrorize villagers, right? We're going to go in here and tell them, give us your sons and daughters. And what it is it's a little bit of a snowball effect. Each village we go to, we're going to tell them, give us your troops. Most of them are going to say, hell no. We're going to say, fine, then we'll kill the ones that resist. And then, of course, after we kill them, get some EXP, some loot, some experience, some javelin throwing action. We will then take whoever survives into our army. It's a really good way to build up troops quickly in the early game. You'll go to a typical village and get, a couple recruits, maybe they offer. But if you tell them to give you them, and it has to be enemy villages, they will give you, somewhere between 5 and 20, sometimes 25 troops. So we're going to do tactics in this series, but I'm going to not only do it kind of slowly and talk about it the whole way, but I imagine we're going to have 6, 7, 8 battles, maybe more in today's episode. We do have the RTS mod running, so we'll have to make a couple save games because it is prone to crashing so far with 1.3. Now we have a slightly ranged heavy army at this stage, but it's some raggedy ranged units. I mean, we got the bowl cut tier 2 Aserai archer. We do have like 3 or 4 master archers. So we do have a few guys that we've paid some money to level up. But of course, that's one of the reasons why it's hard in the early game to make money. You've got very low level troops and leveling them up costs money, right? So we're not making nearly as much money from our mercenary contract as we have in the past. I think it's pretty clear that Tailworld's intended to nerf it, especially on the loot side. The loot is very much worse. And a lot of players, I think, aren't thrilled about it. We're going to back up archers here. This is classic kiting. Now, we were a little bit slow there because I was kind of talking about what we're going to do today. If we lose a few troops in each battle, it's okay. The reason we're doing tactics is to avoid catastrophic losses. You can auto-resolve these, and you might suffer 15 or 20 losses. I don't want to suffer 15 or 20 losses. I want to suffer 2, 3. In some of these battles, we won't have any losses, and we'll just stack these poor peasants up in the river of their own village. Right now, we're going to get a little bit of fighting action with this main guy here, but man, is he weak, right? Like a single arrow almost kills you. That said, the early game, you got to fight, and we do have the RTS mod loaded, so even if our hero goes down, Rage is his name. It's not Raj. It's not the Indian continent Raj. It's Rage, right? Rage here is going to be raging on some villages. All right, so 7 influence to start. Not bad. I think we get 180 or 200 gold or something like that per influence point. So that's a 1,500 gold village raid. Pretty pretty advantageous, right? But this is the real reward, right? We are going to power level our army if we can survive, and it's always an if, and this kind of escapades. We're essentially doing some guerrilla warfare here. If we can survive, we're going to have a very powerful army in like an hour. This episode may not make it to an hour. We'll see. Kind of depends on the flow of it, but we're deep in enemy territory. The Aserai and the Western Empire are newly at war. And I'll talk about some of these components too. How do I build an army for the early stage, right? You really can go wrong by building the wrong troops. I will keep that prisoner. You see that 7 up there? We'll keep that there. We're already gaining levels. The reason I keep prisoners that are readily recruitable is that I want to be able to pull that lever if I'm attacked in a very big battle. Like, in other words, if I feel like I'm about to be cornered and in a bad spot, I will recruit every single prisoner. Until then, we just tow those guys around and throw them, some breadcrumbs once in a while. Now, this is the real benefit, right? We're actually going to go over here and we're going to monitor our deserters. I have been studying this for a while because I'm a nerd. Don't tell anybody, I'm actually at work right now. I'm a full-time firefighter. We are going to study deserters a little bit because there is a benefit to going over in the early stage, right? You have a very small army. And in my experience, almost always your deserters come from your absolutely worst troops. So it's almost always something that you want to have. Okay, we got to be careful not to get trapped here. Either one of these armies could probably destroy us. So let's get out of the way. Let's get off the highway here. So we had 4 deserters there. My experience is it's almost always your worst troops. In other words, let me put it to you this way. If you go 20 over with recruits and you get 6 deserters, you still get 14 extra troops for your battle. Now this guy, I can't tell. It looks like he's running away from us. So, of course, he's also chasing these looters. The AI is, it's doing stand back. You don't want to get hit with the waves of energy coming out of the intelligence from this guy here. He's up in the hills hiding like worm tongue. Must have his sack of meal. He's up there disinterested in riding with the Rohirrim. We're going to trace this guy down. Actually, never mind. He changed his mind and he engaged us. For whatever reason, it's an even battle. I guess he's slightly favored, but with tactics, we should have a good chance against most of these armies. Now, army makeup's going to matter, right? And we have this beautiful sunset, and man, is 1.3 beautiful. I could just die on that hill right there, and I would be content. But we're not going to die here on this hill. That'll be a shitty episode if we lose the first real battle. There's not much to work with here. I've got a few different ridges. We do have an archer-heavy army, so we are going to be looking for reverse slope declines. Our infantry and cavalry is really weak, right? When we don't have a lot of it. We have literally single digits. And a lot of guys, they're F1, F3 at this stage of the campaign, and boy, are you asking for it in a battle like this, right? This is the kind of battle you lose if you F1, F3, or at least a lot of the time. Maybe you do a little cav charge and you get through it. But I don't just want to win these battles. I want to win by a significant margin so that we can march on here. One of the early game dynamics that you're facing is you're facing a budget problem. We have, a daily cost to our army, and we're not making a lot of money. So we want to fight battle after battle after battle. Basically, we want to work these poor soldiers as hard as we can to maximize the amount of money we earn from them since we're paying them so much. We have to be ruthless capitalists. Now, there's a little tiny ridge here I'm going to hide our infantry behind. And I think we're going to have a range sparring at the beginning of this battle, which I'm not thrilled about. I'm going to get these guys off their horses, in fact. That way they don't get shot in the face. The reason I'm not thrilled about it is we don't have crossbow. The enemy does. Crossbow generally has a longer range than archers. In fact, our guys are standing there while they get shot at. Most of them anyways. Let's move these guys forward at least so some of them are shooting. However, at this range, the arrows really do minimal damage. Like, you can get hit with an arrow at that range in the head and it does 20, right? It's a glancing blow. I'm not going to be engaging a lot, of course. In fact, my horse almost died in like a single arrow shot. Most of you guys already know, right? If you haven't experienced it, if you're maybe on a console, if they don't change anything, I can tell you this: the enemy is extremely accurate, deadly accurate with their ranged weapons in 1.3. They talked about it in the patch. There was a bunch of patch notes, but that was distinctly one of the things I noticed. And I kind of questioned why. They made ranged weapons even more deadly. Well, anybody who's played Bannerlord a lot in the last couple 3 years knows that archers are already deadly, right? They don't need to be more deadly, but evidently that's what we're looking down the barrel of here. So naturally, we have a significant portion of our troops archers here, and we're trying to take advantage of this range. God, my horse is almost dead. Of course, this is the difficult part about the early game. I'm playing 4 campaigns simultaneously right now, a couple different series that we're running, and they're of all different skills, right? We have characters that are level 40 or 45 that I'm playing, and then I'm playing this guy, level 9. He's like a high schooler or an elementary kid, you know, coming out here with his javelins. Lucky to hit a guy. Now they have cavalry. That's a problem too, right? Because it's not like we have... oh shit, here they come. They're charging. It's actually good they're charging. Let's back our archers off to the side here. The reason I say it's good is because our archers are going to be able to pound them as they close. I think that ridge there too is going to allow us to sort of burst over on their troops, but we'll see, right? Their cavalry's a problem. Hold on, boys! Okay, one of them got shot off his horse. That guy got killed. And it's, you know, the early stage of Bannerlord, man, it's gritty. I remember first playing it thinking, this is the hardest game I've ever played, right? You get one shot by a cavalryman, and I was like, oh shit, I'm dead already. Like, it's a really difficult game if you don't know what you're doing. A shield is a necessity. Most of you guys already know that, but if you're just starting out, man, make sure you have a shield. You're going to get shot at. You're going to have cavalry charge at you at 300 miles an hour. Trying to cut your head off. Now we're going to countercharge here. I did this. Oh shit. That way we could get all our troops concentrated and attack before their infantry arrives. We do have archers on their flanks here. And some of these battles are going to be harder to emulate than others, this being one of them. For a new player, they're probably like, I have no idea what's going on. And evidently I don't either, as I got smoked. We do have the RTS mod, so I'm just going to tell everybody to charge here. At least all of our units are together. We've got a bunch of infantry here slugging it out. And we do have archers on the flank. That'll be a constant theme of this, is using our archers. No, they must be louder. They're running as fast as they can off the battlefield. Maybe they think the sunset's beautiful too. They're like racing in that direction. Well, it was bloody, and that was definitely not how we wrote it up. 22 casualties, 11 dead. Those are some costly influence points we just gained, but victory is victory, right? As long as you're moving forward, we'll take it. We'll deal with it. Now, I didn't notice, but I guess we just gained a clan tier. 81 troops we can take on, and that's a big milestone, right? Because obviously now we start to approach the size of some of these lords' armies. You're running around. Garrios has like 200, but some of the lower lords might have 100 or 110, right? We can start to match up with some of those lords once we get these 81 troops built out. Now, it's not going to be hard to get troops, right? And again, we're going to leave these prisoners. You're going to see me do that over and over again because we don't need them right now. I can go get troops anytime I want, right? I feel like the Jason Bourne. Kill Wambosi? Hell, I can send that scene where he's like, I don't need to do that. I can go tell villagers to get in the army here, right? Now, look at this. This is incredible. Basically, our entire character loadout got upgraded here. We're washing the Western Empire stench out of all this gear, but it's outstanding. Like, we literally had some raggedy clothes on before, and in one battle, taking down this lord, we have, I don't want to say the jackpot, because it's not like incredible loot, but it's pretty damn nice. You know, balanced pylons and nice cavalry, higher level armor for 2 or 3 companions here. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to spend the whole episode upgrading. In fact, you'll probably notice me not doing this for most of the battle, even though there are clear upgrades we could do. I don't want to waste your time with this kind of stuff, but this is our first big win in this campaign. We need the gear, so it was appropriate there to put that shit on, especially for the main character. Of course, 1% health. You know, we've got to stall a little bit here, or you auto-resolve. And auto-resolve generally is not going to do anywhere near as well as tactics. We don't have any tactics skills either, right? So I want to take out this deserter. We can just send troops here. Hopefully we don't lose a dozen troops. Right, the power bar is kind of ominous. You just cross your fingers. That's acceptable. A couple guys died. We lost a master archer. That sucks, but, you know, we're not going to cry over spilt archer blood. we're going to move on here. We're getting upgrades every single battle, and that's going to be a critical part of this as well, right? Right now, our army is like on a 1 to 10 scale, like a 3. It's pretty weak, but we're going to upgrade quickly. And look at this. We get we get 2 high-end horses from this. And this is, this is sort of one of the countering factors to, okay, so they made loot worse in Bannerlord, but for anybody who hasn't played it, right, this is for some reason your first video of 1.3, the campaign map is now crawling with targets. There are lords everywhere. Look at this shit. There's all kinds of red people trying to kill us. And I'm kind of baiting lords here. I want to look at them, get close enough here to scout. Of course, our scouting skill is terrible, 22. We got to upgrade that at some point. Oh, and I got another nice little hack we're going to share with you guys. You want that perk, that medicine perk, gain 30% of the previous, of the health in each battle. In other words, at the end of the battle, whatever your health was, you gain 30%, 30% of what you lost. So if you lost, 100% of your health, at least you have 30%. So I want to bait these guys. Come this way. Come on over here. I feel like Antoine Chigurh in No Country for Old Men, where he pulls the guy over with his police car and he's like, "Could you hold still, sir?" And the guy's like, "What is that? What are you holding?" And I'm like, "Would you just please hold still?" Right there. And then this guy's fucked. All right, so we like it. The power bar is even. Any single one of these battles where the power bar is even, that means we're going to win, right? We're just not going to lose when we use tactics. The AI is not sophisticated enough to deal with it. We're going to switch to 3 archer divisions here. I wonder if I have any skirmishers. Let's take a close look here. I don't think we have any skirmishers. I mean, we have a raggedy army. Yeah, they're all wearing cloth. No skirmishers. If we get skirmishers, we may eventually put a few in a mixed division. But we're running 3 archer divisions because this is by far the easiest way to destroy the enemy in Bannerlord, especially if they have an infantry-heavy army. Why is that important? Because a lot of the armies you're going to face in the early game are going to be infantry-heavy. In other words, this is going to be the formation and the tactic that you want to master, because you will roll through Bannerlord in the early game. I'm telling you, if you master one tactic, master this tactic. Now, I'm going to explain it, but we're also going to probably demonstrate it 3, 4, 5 times, right? This is essentially a very small version of an inverted crescent. It's kind of, it's not quite the same as what Hannibal did at the Battle of Cannae, but it's a feint attack in the center. We're pulling the enemy in towards the center. The guys in the channel, of course, know it. An elaborate form of it is called a killbox. And it's incredibly devastating to infantry because they can't ever catch anybody, right? Basically, we have a whole bunch of archers shooting the enemy at different angles. They come on in, and they can never reach anybody until they're shot full of arrows. So hopefully we can give a good demonstration of it here. I only have, a quarter of a health bar, which means I get 1 shot, right, by anything. My butt kind of puckers a little bit when anything gets near me. I still want to kill this cavalryman, though. Those elite cataphracts early in the campaign are devastating. You're probably like, wait a minute, aren't you that knucklehead that says cavalry sucks in Bannerlord? So I should qualify that, right? Basically, late game cavalry suck. We just deck their lord on the ground. That'll teach them. In late game, cavalry suck, and the main reason is that they get bottled up on each other. Troop formations are very compacted. They can't get up to speed. In the early game here, they're fucking deadly because they're moving fast. They're going to one-shot most of your troops. They won't kill maybe a high-end troop with 1 shot, but you're not going to have very many high-end troops, right? You're going to have a whole bunch of trash. All right, now I said I'd walk you through this. Picture a box with no top. That is our archer formation, with, of course, the bottom of the box being near us. Now, I butchered the first division here. I wasn't paying attention to it, and the next thing you know, they were caught up in that. The key to this tactic is not even letting that infantry reach anybody. You want them in between all your different divisions, and even though I butchered that infantry division there, well, that's all right. One of those guys talked back to me the last time we went into battle, so we'll just move on without him. And your job, of course, is to micro this, right? You're just moving these archer divisions kind of in close. I'd love to kill their lord with a javelin, but I don't see any. And you can see what's happening to them. The AI is essentially, they don't know what to do here. And of course, a player if they didn't split their divisions, they wouldn't know what to do either, right? They would just die. And you see how easy this was. Even though I butchered the deployment of the infantry, it works very effectively. So the easiest way, again, to describe it is picture a box without a top. The bottom, of course, being the closest to you when you start the episode. So wings of archers. Now on both wings, you'll notice I put cavalry. That is because when the enemy cavalry charges, or when enemy archers shoot at our troops, I want to have those guys out there sort of screening our troops, absorbing some arrows and stuff like that. We would have suffered a lot more losses if all these sharpshooters or whatever, Sergeant Crossbow here, were firing away, right? This dipshit holding up a shield runs in a shield wall, gets cut down. I mean, you got to appreciate sometimes stupidity, right? Like, we might as well enjoy when the AI does dumb shit like that. And that's what I'm talking about, right? 5 deaths, 24 upgrades, right? A huge amount of archers upgraded, of course, right? Because those guys are like, yeah, shooting the enemy is fun, right? And this is beautiful, right? A bunch of troops. So the snowball effect is starting, right? We started with what, 57 troops or something like that. Now we're 60 something. We're going to hit more villages. We're going to do more upgrades. We're going to do more kill boxes. We're going to get better loot. We're going to do more leveling up. Now it's not just as easy as snapping your fingers. We're gonna, another rich horse here. We're gonna get some good loot when we finally hit a city. We have to navigate the campaign map carefully, and the biggest thing is to avoid getting cornered, right? You don't want to be chased down by 6, 7, 8 divisions. Fortunately, the AI doesn't act like a human. It will not just maliciously chase you and then bring in the war dogs to surround and destroy you, right? Heaven forbid we get Chat GPT. It's just gonna make us all cry. Now I want to show you a little hack here. Look at our health, 55%. We're actually going to spend a little bit of time here, mostly just to show you this hack. Fortunately, we have the RTS mod to make this quick. We're just going to blaze through these, right? I'm just going to charge, kill them really quick. And what we're going to do this for is to gain health. It's a strange little function of the system. I'm not sure. Some people might even consider this an exploit. But essentially the perk that we assigned this guy, his medicine skill, the first perk gives you 30% of your health from the start of the battle. So if you enter a battle with 50% health and you don't suffer any injuries, don't suffer, you know, if you don't get hit at all, you end up with more health at the end of the battle than you started with, which is kind of counterintuitive. Oh shit, well, we're not going to gain a lot of health when we get shot. Look at that, one shot. This guy got shot in the head for 77. And that's with his upgraded helm. So, scratch all that. We're an idiot here. We got smoked. But we're going to be able to do this with some of these looters, right? Running down, chasing after these deserters. I saw a couple, 3 looter bands. It'll be, oh shit, that's a beautiful tier 6 helmet early on here. So, and beautiful. His beard sticks out the bottom. That looks awesome. We're getting a little bit of luck maybe with loot. Loot is definitively nerfed. I don't think Tail Worlds came out and said that. But anybody who's played 1.3, even for an hour, right, of gameplay, you'll notice. And this is, you know, it's profound early in the campaign. Now, again, don't worry, we're not going to do tactics for these. We will just charge. But again, notice my health, right? We're going to gain every single one of these. Just insta-charge, and the looters die. We can enjoy the moon and the light and stuff like that with version 1.3. Our character's going to gain health. It takes a long time to gain health by just either sitting in a village or running around on the campaign map or whatever, going to a tavern and pounding down some beers. Not only do we get psoriasis of the liver, but it takes forever to heal in those taverns. So it's sort of counterintuitive. Maybe this is going to get fixed in the future, but in the short term, especially if you're struggling, get this medicine perk. It's the top of the 2. And it's that extra hit points. Look at that, 54%. So just basically riding around our horse for 20 seconds, we gained almost we almost doubled our health, right? 60. Let's do another one, right? Let's exploit some more here. We're here to do some exploiting today. Of course, there isn't really any mods to exploit with version 1.3. So, you know, that's kind of one of the nice things about showing gameplay here is you can't really alter the game to make it easier. It's just raw Bannerlord. We do have the RTS mod, but of course we don't have any other mods that are operating. And I'm not even going to fight here. We're, again, just going to enjoy the beautiful sunshine. It should take like 30 seconds for our troops here using the RTS mod to just exterminate these looters. And again, we go from 54% health or whatever it is. We'll probably be at 70 something. Much more effective than healing. And again, this whole episode, we're not going to sit here and exploit looters till we're 100% health. I'm not going to abuse it to an extreme end, but instead of sitting there with 20% health where you can't even fight, we can use this little game mechanic. I don't even think I want recruits and peasants. Now, we do have a couple of our units with slings, so it'll be kind of interesting to see if and when they impact the game at all. Probably not. If you haven't played 1.3, if you want kind of the short on slings, they're a tiny bit gimmicky. Maybe the high-end slings with some good throwing skill, they do good damage. We can move faster here with a little bit of scouting. I'm not going to spend much time on the perks. We cover that extensively in our campaigns. We're doing the Britannian campaign. Of course, the Britannian campaign, we filmed all the early part like this. So if you want to see more of the early part of a campaign, check out that Britannian campaign. Now, what's nice about this is we're going to get a huge variety of landscapes to do tactics, right? So they're going to charge us here for whatever reason. When you raid a village, they'd come to you. It would seem like they should be able to defend the village and, you know, you should have to come to them. This makes it much, much easier that they charge you and you can basically use the landscape to funnel them. So what we're going to do here is just position archers out of line of sight towards the right. And then as they come around the corner, we'll kite and shoot them to pieces. We can tuck some troops here against the barn. I actually really like village battles. But you don't get village battles right now if you fight like a lord at a village. If you're raiding a village and you get attacked by a lord, the battle's not at the village, which I think is a bug. And hopefully that gets fixed. Alright, so maybe it seems like, you know, a lot of kerfuffle just to to win some battles here. But to me, this is about efficiency. Again, I mentioned it earlier. It costs you money every day to pay for your troops. So if you lose half your troops and you got to run around and pick up more and you got to pay money for them, there's your first way to save money right away. Right now, we're going to back this infantry up and basically just bait the enemy around the corner there. Then we'll have those guys fight while they're being shot in the back. So efficiency is key here. For a number of different reasons. First, dead troops don't upgrade, right? So if your troops are getting killed, obviously they don't upgrade. Second, it costs a lot of money and it takes a bunch of time to recruit more troops. And then third, of course, that's how you should do it. I lost my train of thought there. I'm old, fellas. We're doing the best we can here. My wife says, don't say you're old. She's like, I'm not old. You're not old. We are approaching 50. I feel old. I'm old to play a video game, that's for sure. A lot of guys are like, damn, you're 50. All right, let's smash some of these militia here. A handful of casualties here, and we're gonna do just a little bit of farming here. Throw a javelin into their windpipe. Oh. Thank goodness we have Bannerlord. Otherwise, for sure, I'd be arrested as a serial killer because I love the sound of people dying. They would be like, come with us, sir. Fortunately, there's no minority report, right? Would they know you're going to commit crimes ahead of time? Otherwise, they'd probably arrest me. There's something hilarious about little peasants getting just cleaved open by a huge sword. And then they're... just making all the death sounds. All right. Gotta have a little fun here. We're taking this shit serious. Now, this campaign is probably going to be a 2-hour affair. I'm mostly doing this. There's a lot of guys that are having a hard time fiscally. A couple guys in the Discord was like, I can't make money. And I've experienced that too. In the Britannian campaign, I swear it was 6 hours before we had a little head of steam going for cash. You've got to be really efficient, and that includes things like not recruiting noble units at the beginning, not picking up mercenary troops. You know how you can run to a city and pick up 3 hired pikemen and shit like that? Those troops, pound for pound, are really expensive. You want to avoid those for sure in the early game. But it also includes, right, things like making sure you maximize your loot, minimizing the diet that your troops are getting, right? You're basically trying to feed them grain. You know, they're on a ramen diet at the beginning, frankly, because you can't afford it. It's like Tail Worlds is trying to remind us of our college days here where we ate ramen because that was all we could afford. Trying to give us flashbacks or something like that. And all you can really, you know, afford to do in the early on is recruit troops when they get killed, recruit a few more, maybe pick up a little bit of grain here and there, a couple horses, right? A lot of guys don't know about that. You always want to have, you know, 10, 12, 15 horses. A good ratio. Oh, shit, that's not going to work. That division is so weak. Let's just back them up. A good ratio is about a quarter of your army size. You want to have mounts. That way they move quickly, because that's one of the most important parts of an early game. If you can't run away from the enemy on the campaign map, you're dead. Right? Everything's captured. You're fucked. You have to be able to escape at least serious targets, right? And the good news is the small targets won't come after you, right? So there's a sweet spot where you're fast enough to get away from the deadly armies, but also fast enough to chase down some whatever your target is, right? Deserters or whatever. I said I'd talk about army makeup. Shields. You want shields in the early going, right? Ranged units are ultra accurate in Bannerlord. We've already talked about that. If you don't have shields, especially with your infantry, you're going to get mauled. There are specialized troops like shock troops. You know, the Mamluk Axeman is a nasty unit. You don't want to use them in the early game at all. Unless you're an exquisite tactician and you're like really good at maneuvering and microing, I would go all shields and archers early in a campaign. Some cavalry is actually good too. You see the mobility, the protection it delivers, and they're actually pretty good at charging in the early game because, of course, the AI doesn't get bound up when there's 2 or 3 horses, right? Where their reliability is in the mid to late game. And it's something, you know, that I hadn't really thought about too much. Of course, I've been trolling YouTube, telling everybody cavalry sucks. It's mostly accurate, right? The first 4, 5, 6 hours of a campaign, cavalry is useful. It's the later game that spear cavalry is not very useful. This guy's just getting smoked. Swear I'm not drunk. I'm just laughing at these death sounds. Little villagers getting trampled and shit. Part of me is sympathetic and the other part loves it. He just got ran over by a horse. Smoked right in the back of the head with the javelin. He just goes limp. All right, that's what I'm talking about, right? 2 deaths. I wish it was 2 injured, but we don't need to be perfectionists here, right? We're just trying to be efficient. We're cruising right along here. I don't know how many battles this is, but that's about 6, 7 battles, and we're going to go for a little while here. We're gaining levels here, cutting dudes down. I love it. 14 influence. So each one of these battles, we're gaining somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 gold. Now, our gold only says 4,500, but that's going to go up pretty significantly over the course of this episode. It'll really go up when we get to a town, right? Once we get to a town and we sell some of this loot, I mean, our helmet is worth 15,000, or at least that's what it says in the little value thing. We might get half that at a town. Still, you know, we're racking up tons of loot as well, so it's cumulative, and you're getting all the other benefits, right? There's a lot of guys that are like, oh, you do quests and you run around and you buy a bunch of mules over here and you drag them across the whole map of Calradia, and if you're lucky and you don't get slaughtered by looters on the way, then you double your money and you make 2,000 gold. And I'm like, no, man, just raid villages. Okay, we have a real threat here. Let me sit up for this shit. This guy's got fucking bower champions, and look at him hesitate. That's interesting. Look at that behavior. You know what that behavior is? He's not sure. There's an in-between that the AI sort of, they enter like an okay, look at this guy, just engages right in front of us. The AI on the campaign map, when they're sort of hesitant like that, that means they're not sure if they can win, and they're not sure if they should, you know, they're basically not sure. They want to attack, but they're not sure. They're like a sophomore asking a senior out to the prom. They're like hesitant and nervous and shit. They have no confidence. And I want him to attack me, and I'm not gonna attack him yet. Let me explain why. He's got a lot of archers. I don't know if you guys can see that. 79 ranged units. We have an archer heavy army. When you're archer versus archer, you want them to attack you. There's a big reason. Archers, in this situation, whoever's defending, damn, he's running away from us. I think we'll try to drop some troops. If we drop some troops here, he may engage us, right? Because, of course, suddenly we're an easier target. But he's still on the run, which is kind of a bummer. This is part of the cat and mouse, though, that I want to show you guys. Okay, oh shit, we better get out of here. Of an early game, right? This is, okay, here we go. We just barely got the guy. I'm going to take a chance and fight this battle. But it's at a disadvantage here, right? There's a chance he attacks, but we're probably going to have to engage him. And that's a problem when you have archers, of course, for one simple reason. If you can play defensive with your archers, you choose where to fight, and your feet are cemented in the ground. You're locked and loaded, firing as the enemy runs towards you. You always want to be in a defensive position against enemy archers. Look at that bottom number. I think that's because the AI thinks they can win here. They're charging us. So that makes me nervous, actually. That makes me feel like, you know, when a dog aggressively chases you, it almost, its breath almost smells like you're the prey. You're like, oh shit, maybe this dog thinks I am the prey. That means it might attack. Okay. Don't need to get captured here. I don't get nervous very often, but I don't like our landscape here. Let's try to push these cavalry away. Let's see. We've got a little tiny bowl here we can use as a ridge, a reverse slope decline. Against archers, that's for sure going to be your go-to strategy. You can be up on a hill, and I think you'll do worse than this, right? If you have elevation here, yes, your archers shoot further, but they're also plainly visible for the enemy archers, enemy crossbow. You're going to suffer huge ranged battle losses.
Hold fire!
Now, these cavalrymen, right? The aforementioned dangerous cavalrymen. I'd like to reduce this threat before the real battle happens. Man, I have this peasant division. So what I typically like to... Shit, I just got smoked. What I typically like to do with peasants is keep them out of the picture. But here, I just kind of want to tuck them down in this little dell. If the enemy charges over this ridge, which it looks like they're going to, we need a few guys with a pitchfork here to have an answer to them. Of course, the enemy has peasants, too. This is vanilla Bannerlord, right? There's an awful lot of peasants on the battlefield. It's kind of alarming. These guys with no shield charging us. They do the Japanese proud. It's a kamikaze charge. All right, so the reverse slope decline is starting to work. I don't like the fact that these infantry now are getting shot by enemy archers. They don't have shields, right? So we'll see how this goes. We'll see if our archers can hold their own. That guy got smoked. And newer players, right, you definitely want to use this tactic. The principle is simple. There's a ridge there. The enemy's advancing on us. To shoot us, they must poke their heads up over that ridge. They get smoked. Now, I'm trying to get this infantry out of line of sight. That's who's dying, I think. Let's try to tuck these guys out of here. Actually, I got an opportunity here. It might be risky. Let's see if the archers can hold the center there. We're getting some good death spam now. I have no shields here, so this is probably not going to work, but these guys are a liability anyways. Let's try to... Oh, shit. They're coming up at us. Look at this pathetic... Yeah, well, you're going to be the ones that die. It's too late now. We'd get smoked if we would retreat, so hopefully we can kill... Maybe we can kill one guy here. We basically got torched here. I don't know if we killed anybody. We got smoked. Well, what happened there, of course, is that I was trying to flank these... Oh, shit. I'm getting smoked in the face. I was trying to flank the enemy while our archers pinned him down. And the enemy was certainly ready for it. So, let's reset. We've got another ridge over here where I think it'll be effective at a peekaboo ridge. I'm just going to leave that infantryman in there. At least he's occupying the enemy. And it's good to show when things go wrong, right? You really don't want to be charging with peasants. You saw how badly that went, right? We'll point out when we make mistakes. I thought the enemy might be occupied enough with the archer line, and instead they basically came right at us and prompted me to charge. So it is what it is, right? We learn from that. But look at the numbers advantage and look at the power bar, right? This battle's over. The enemy has to come to us. Here they come up with their with their crossbow dudes and they're getting smoked. Now I have cavalry on the wing here. We could have these guys charge. I probably should have done that in combination with the infantry. Cavalry's in there. I think it's probably time to kill him. It says there's 2 troops, so we'll just move in here and finish this battle. That's not 2. There's several guys there. Why does it say 2? 1. Did I miss something? Fuck. I'm getting smoked. It says 1 dude. Well, I don't know what happened there, but it's success, right? We're going to have a few messy battles today. That's the thing, right? When you expose yourself to YouTube, you know, you make yourself vulnerable. Basically by like getting drunk every night, and then someone tells you you have to make 30 tweets or whatever they're called these days, 30 posts on X. You're going to make yourself look bad. And invariably, we're going to have some battles that are a little sloppy like that. So right, though, victory is victory. And we learn from that, right? Don't charge with peasants. This is some brilliant stuff. Actually, Sun Tzu said that. It's in page 87 of The Art of War. Don't charge with peasants. So it's right there after F1, F3. All right, so I don't want to fight that guy, right? We got to do a little bit more healing. See if we want to do some editing here. I'm kind of looking over. I could just do 40 minutes here this episode, but I've got looters to attack, and this is actually good. The Aserai force got smashed. Looks like Unquid got mangled by Garrios and company. That's actually good. The reason it's good is more targets for us, right? We don't want the Aserai to just steamroll everything. We want to kill them. Now we've got all this loot. I'm kind of anxious to get to a town, but we're trapped. Not irrevocably trapped, but it's going to be difficult for us to get down to that peninsula, down to Quayas to sell the loot. I might even run all the way to Valandian territory to sell loot. Of course, I don't care at all about this guy's attributes. We're just going to click a button here. That one doesn't make any sense to me at all. Seems like we should have lost fearless trait here. And I'm just going to heal for a second or two, and then we're going to raid this village. Again, abusing this little healing thing. We're at 60% now. If we can fight this battle without getting mauled too bad, we'll be at 80%, and then we'll be ready to face the big boys again. The villages in Bannerlord really are kind of like they're like your AA stop for a baseball player, right? Before you get to the pros, you gotta brush up your skills. You gotta suffer some adversity. You gotta level up your units. And it's almost like the developers were like, well, we need some kind of stepping stone for them to get from looters and bandits to taking on, major lords in one-on-one battles. And to me, it's villages, right? It's usually 50 to 100 troops. Sometimes they have archers. Sometimes they got a bunch of guys throwing rocks. But most of the time it's manageable. Now, not thrilled about this landscape, actually. They're gonna have cover. Let's see, shit. Kind of too late now. Let's see. Let's get cavalry protected. At least we got a little barn over here. I love that there's all these different variable landscapes. As a tactician, it's just absolutely Christmas. Of course, I wish there were more, but there's already something like 200 maps in Bannerlord. Hard to complain about that. Well, we're kind of committed here. We can kind of chuck our infantry over here by this little outhouse or whatever it is. Maybe we can sneak around on their archers. We're getting strafed, and they're coming in hard on our infantry. Our archers. This is a problem. Get kiting, boys. I can't quite tell. Okay, we moved the right division at least. We drilled some guy in the face. Get back. Whatever division you guys are, get back. If you don't kite, it's not going to work, right? And I can't actually see which division I controlled there. So this is your other option, is to support your guys. That Sergeant Crossbow kept his little crossbow trained on the enemy there until they were like 6 inches 6 inches away from him. He needs one of those signs on the mirror. Oops, we just smoked one of our archers. Enemy is closer than they appear. He's like 8 inches pointing his crossbow at a little villager. I'm very giddy for some reason. I don't know why that is. Maybe it's because I love Bannerlord and I'm being paid to play. But he was like almost pointing it down at the guy, like, get a little closer. That's right. Now we're charging again with village with peasants, but the enemy's getting strafed with arrows. It's a little bit better situation here. And it's not like high-end archers we're charging here. That last battle, we were charging high-end archers, and the results showed, right? They basically insta-died. All right, our companion here with her sling. We haven't really focused on that much. Maybe we'll watch her in one of these easier battles. Again, I hate to have sort of a morose or cynical approach to the slings. What I would say is they're fun. They can be useful. They're really inaccurate. I mean, they're all over the place. It's like how I piss at 2 in the morning after I drink 12 beers. I don't do that very often, but when I do, it's just everywhere but the toilet, right? That's basically how the slinger's accuracy is. You can be 10 feet from a guy, get your little crosshairs dialed in on his face, and it'll hit a barn behind him. Like, it's wildly inaccurate. And that might be something they adjust, right? I gotta mention, anytime I make sort of criticism where it sounds like I'm bashing on Tail Worlds, don't forget, this is a beta. We're volunteering to play this. There are going to be parts of this that are not, they're not finished tinkering with it. In fact, they're actively asking players, developers, content creators like us for feedback, right? What are some problems? And I think continued improvements are on the way. I think there's a lot of people that just felt like Tail Worlds gave up. There was like a year-long period without an update. Then they came out with the news about the DLC, and then there was again sort of radio silence. I think they're working, right? The guys, people say that they're cooking, right? They're in there cooking. I guess that we'll use some modern lingua with our drip. These guys are cooking, and they're hard at work. It's clear that they're making improvements to the game. It's clear they want to continue to develop this great franchise, this great game. But, no fine wine before it's time, right? I've put an incredible amount of hours into Bannerlord, and so have a lot of other people. It's going to take some time. It's a very complicated game, and they continue to make it more complicated. So we'll see, right? It's going to take some tinkering to pare things down here. Now, the enemy has lots and lots of infantry again, and I don't have a lot of room to kite, so this is liable to be a little bit more bloody. I also have all of these really weak infantrymen. It's best if we just move everybody back here. But to finish that point, right, slings might be adjusted by the time it's all said and done. Certainly useful in the early game, right? You can give a companion a sling, and I've seen them, right? I've watched them. In fact, this guy's coming up with his sling. They'll kill guys or at least do damage, right? You don't want to be hit by a sling. It hurts. And, of course, there are higher level slings. Right now, our companion doesn't have a high level one because we can't afford it. I think I got hit by a sling right there. Something drilled me for 9. All right, let's just charge at this infantry and archer division. It's going to be bloody, but it's better than just getting pounded on and trying to kite to the edge of the map. Now, siege defense, right? Siege defense is coming. I plan on making this a 2, maybe a 3-part series, especially if you guys want more, right? If the cooking that we're making in our restaurant called our YouTube channel, if you guys keep eating it, in other words, if you guys keep watching it and commenting and asking for more, hitting that like button, things like that, the feedback that I get encourages me to make more or something else, right? Or not make any more at all, right? If the next 10 videos got no views, I would just, I don't know, I'd go be a cook or something like that. But you guys essentially give me feedback if you want to see more of this early game tactical exposition, I guess we'll call this. This is not going to be a lengthy campaign. Again, we're holding those prisoners, and I'll try to just slip as many little nuggets in as I can. This is natural for me, and there's a parallel, and I'll just tell you, since we're doing some of the monotonous stuff here in between battle. I'm a firefighter, and I'm an older guy. I have a lot of guys in my department, and I just try to slip them nuggets of wisdom, if not every shift, on a regular basis, right? Sometimes there's lots of nuggets in a single shift, and that's sort of the job of us elders at this stage, right? You guys got Google, you got Snapchat and TikTok, but that shit's also full of fake news and bullshit. We're going to try to tell it like it is. And the best part about Tactics and Bannerlord is lots and lots of guys come back to the channel a month later after they learn some of the shit here, and they're like, dude, I just crushed an army twice our size. That was so satisfying. Thank you for sharing that with me. And of course, it's my pleasure. I love that shit. It's just like when the guys here at work, when all of a sudden I see a guy who was a new guy a year ago teaching the guy that just got here, right? That's a great feeling because it's reverberating out into eternity. I love that quote from Gladiator, right? What we do in life echoes into eternity. Now here, I'm going to do this, right? These guys are closing in. I'm not really sure if this is going to be a good landscape, bad landscape. So this is exactly what I've been waiting for with those prisoners. We had good morale, so it didn't kill our morale. We're still at 76. And let's see what we got here, right? This might be our first really hard challenge. Okay. I know this landscape pretty well. I wish we were across a bridge. It's not my favorite spot in this landscape. The enemy's way across a big flat open plain. We could run across that land bridge, but then they're above us, pounding us at range. I didn't see the army makeup too. We'll see that in a second once we get down to the battlefield, and I'll have time to cross the bridge if we need to. So I'm just going to fire this up. I'm not real worried about it, right? We've got a good army. We've got some tactics, and it's infantry heavy, right? So what are we going to do, right? We're going to build our square. We're going to build that kill box. If you've been studying the course today, right? Professor Tactical Enlightenment will say some pompous, arrogant shit here. And we're going to essentially build the three sides of it with infantry and archers at the bottom, and then cavalry on both wings. Now, those cavalry eventually on the wings, I basically like to make a T. Picture the archers being sort of sideways up and down in a line facing the enemy. I'd like the cavalry in a T facing the enemy, and it sort of forms a T between the cavalry and the archers. God, this is a beautiful game. I mean, I just want to hell with war. I just want to stroll here with my wife, with the cold one. It's absolutely gorgeous. So the reason I do that with the cavalry is I've just, I played a lot of Bannerlord, and it's the most effective way at intercepting archers, the enemy archers. They're going to be shooting at us, and enemy cavalry. Instead of our archers being just skewered and trampled down the whole line, they end up strafing and or attacking your cavalry instead. It's a much better result. So the kill box is designed, and now we just fire away. Now we have a kingdom advantage here I want to mention. I haven't mentioned it, I think. The Aserai have some of the most ammo in the game. So we have all these Aserai archers. We actually have a mix at this stage, Imperials and Aserai. But the Aserai archers, which we still have a lot of, have even their low-level archers have two big quivers of arrows. So they can shoot for a long time. And the advantage in a battle like this is you don't have to worry at all about micromanaging their ammo. You just fire away, right? And that's, with all the other micromanaging we're doing, it's nice that we don't have to add that layer. All right, so you see the bottom of the bucket right here, the bottom of our little box. Now we're going to simply start pulling it away, right? It's you guys probably don't know this, but it's the football trick with Lucy, right? We're just going to whip it out. They're basically bait and switched, and now they're turning their back to this archer ranks over here, pursuing our archers. I'm just going to send these guys way out of here. They're getting hit with javelins. I got hit with a javelin. Or my horse did. Looks like it's stuck in its neck. Let's charge this 6th Division. The only reason I'm doing that, though, is to have them move up. I want those guys, see how the enemy's moving away from those guys? They'll be doing more damage if they charge. You got to remember you did that, though, right? One of the keys to this strategy, to doing a kill box, to doing this, if you want to call it a reverse crescent, I'm fine with that, a crane formation, is knowing what division is where and what they're doing, right? It takes some practice. Use the custom battle if you're having a hard time in the campaign, right? If you're getting captured, trying this, and you can fuck this up royally, right? If the enemy archer or infantry rather gets a hold of your best archer division, bye-bye, they're all dead, right? They're going to die for sure. The enemy infantry will charge and they're dead. But if you do it right, you can get battles like this where you suffer 20 losses instead of 120. I mean, this is a battle we probably lose without tactics. And instead, the enemy's completely fucked. Now they have, some 20-some archers over there, so I'm continuing to use these cav lines out in front to protect us. And it's just, they're being torched. These guys are still charging. We can just position them now, the 6th Division. The spatial awareness comes with practice. We may have a head start or an advantage at firefighters. We do all kinds of drills and training with the blindfold on. Right? It's part of the fire service. You do that because a lot of times when you enter a house that's on fire, can't see anything. It's fucking full of smoke. So you have to have very good spatial awareness. Your life literally depends on it. So we're going to bring our peasants up here and try to get some upgrades. I probably did it too early. They got a lot of high-end infantry. But these are the Imperial peasants, right? We don't give a fuck. We just conscripted those guys yesterday, right, from a village. If they die, we'll just go get more. And hopefully half of them upgrade. Now, their archers are charging, we charge, right? We want to counter-charge with cavalry here and just blast right through their ranks. Don't let them set up and start shooting. Now, that's a Fian, isn't it? That's a Battanian Fian right there. I want this guy because we might get him as a prisoner. All right, and you see the results here. 9 losses, 39 upgrades, and just tossed aside these 2 armies of the Western Empire. Don't forget that aspect of the money we're making, right? We're making a lot of money. 39 upgrades is nice. We're making a lot of money that you can't see right now, right? Maybe we only have 10 or 20 grand, but we have a huge amount of lords to go ransom, a huge amount of loot. Yeah, and of course, not just that, but our army has upgraded, our characters have upgraded. If you bought all the equipment we've just shoved on our characters, it'd be like 50 grand, right? So we've done massive upgrades kind of throughout here, and I'm looking over, and I think this is a good spot to stop this first episode. These are a little bit like the Disaster of War series, right? Where they're sort of gritty. We'll just run a continuous stream. I won't take any breaks or anything like that. In between them, you know, we'll do the intro or whatever. But hopefully you guys are enjoying this, and hopefully for especially the players that are struggling with 1.3, struggling with the lower amount of loot and the less money, right? We only have 16,000, but we're making lots of money every day. We've got a giant heap of good equipment. We've got all these lords to ransom. We're gaining levels. Our beard is sticking out of our cool helmet, and we're ready to rock in this campaign. Now, if you want to see more, now's the time to subscribe. Of course, we produce regular Bannerlord content. I'm a nerd. I'm obsessed about it, right? So join the fun here. We've got a Patreon. We've got a Discord, some other shit. Please hit that like button on the way out, friends. I appreciate you guys, and I will see you next time.